Hannibal Barca, the famed Carthaginian general, was born in 247 BC in Carthage, present-day Tunisia. His early childhood was significantly influenced by the political and military landscape of the time, particularly the ongoing hostilities between Carthage and Rome. Hannibal was the son of Hannibal Barca, a prominent general who played a key role in the First Punic War. From a young age, Hannibal was exposed to the military and political culture of Carthage, which emphasized strength, strategy, and resilience. His father instilled in him a deep-seated animosity toward Rome, a sentiment that would define Hannibal's later life and military campaigns. Legend has it that Hamilcar took Hannibal to the altar of Bull, swearing an oath that his son would forever be an enemy of Rome, which left a lasting impression on the young boy. Growing up, Hannibal was likely surrounded by military leaders and experienced soldiers, which helped shape his understanding of warfare and tactics. Hannibal's childhood was also marked by a series of conflicts and unrest in the region. Carthage was recovering from its defeat in the First Punic War, and there was a constant threat from Rome and other rival states. This environment of conflict and competition fostered Hannibal's determination and ambition. By the time he reached his teenage years, he had already begun to develop the skills and mindset that would later make him one of history's greatest military commanders. The combination of his father's influence, the cultural backdrop of Carthage, and the challenges facing his homeland played a crucial role in shaping Hannibal's identity and ambitions as a leader. Hannibal Barca was solidifying his reputation as a military commander and strategist within the Carthaginian military. After serving under his father, Hannibal Barca, and his brother-in-law Hasdrubal, Hannibal began to take on more prominent roles. This period was critical for him, as it marked the lead-up to the Second Punic War against Rome. Around 229 BC, Hannibal was appointed as a commander of the Carthaginian forces in Hispania, modern-day Spain, a region of strategic importance due to its resources and proximity to Rome. He was tasked with consolidating Carthaginian control in the area and expanding their influence. Hannibal displayed exceptional military acumen during this time, successfully managing campaigns against local tribes and rival factions, thus establishing a strong Carthaginian presence in Hispania. In 221 BC, after the assassination of Hasdrubal, Hannibal became the supreme commander of the Carthaginian army in Hispania. His leadership was characterized by innovative tactics and a deep understanding of his adversaries. Hannibal's ability to forge alliances with local tribes and utilize the terrain to his advantage was instrumental in strengthening Carthaginian power in the region. During this period, Hannibal also began planning a campaign against Rome, fostering a growing animosity that would culminate in his famous crossing of the Alps. He knew that to challenge Rome effectively, he would need to strike directly at its heart, and he began to gather the resources and support necessary for such an ambitious undertaking. His leadership in Hispania laid the groundwork for what would become one of the most famous military campaigns in history, showcasing his determination and strategic brilliance. Hannibal Barca emerged as one of history's most renowned military leaders, particularly noted for his daring campaigns against Rome in the Second Punic War. In 219 BC, he launched a bold attack on the Roman-allied city of Saguntum in Hispania, a move that violated a peace treaty with Rome and served as a catalyst for the war. The siege of Saguntum lasted 8 months, ultimately ending in the city's capture. This act of aggression infuriated Rome and solidified Hannibal's reputation as a formidable adversary. Following the conquest of Saguntum, Hannibal led his forces across the Pyrenees and into Gaul, where he skillfully navigated complex tribal alliances and opposition. His army, composed of diverse troops including Iberians, Celts, and North African soldiers, was a testament to his ability to unite various cultures against a common enemy. In 218 BC, Hannibal famously crossed the Alps, a monumental feat that allowed him to enter Italy with a sizable force, surprising the Romans and altering the course of the war. Once in Italy, Hannibal achieved a series of stunning victories, most notably at the Battle of the Trebia in 218 BC and the Battle of Lake Trasimene in 217 BC. These battles demonstrated his tactical genius, particularly his ability to outmaneuver and outsmart larger Roman forces. His strategies often involved psychological warfare and deception, which kept the Romans off balance and allowed him to secure critical victories. However, Hannibal faced significant challenges as well. Despite his early successes, he struggled to secure the reinforcements and resources needed to sustain his campaign. The Romans, under the leadership of commanders like Fabius Maximus, adopted a strategy of attrition, avoiding large-scale confrontations while gradually undermining Hannibal's supply lines and morale. By 216 BC, despite his earlier triumphs, Hannibal faced a turning point in his campaign during the Battle of Cannae, where he achieved one of his most significant victories, encircling and annihilating a massive Roman army. Yet, despite these successes, the inability to capitalize on his victories and the lack of adequate reinforcements from Carthage would lead to difficulties in maintaining his campaign. The period from 220 to 210 BC was marked by Hannibal's bold tactics and remarkable military prowess, setting the stage for one of history's greatest military confrontations while revealing the complexities of his campaign against Rome. Hannibal Barca faced significant challenges as he continued his struggle against Rome during the Second Punic War. After his stunning victory at the Battle of Cannae in 216 BC, where he decimated a large Roman army, Hannibal failed to capitalize on his success due to several factors, including the lack of reinforcements from Carthage and the inability to secure a decisive alliance with key Italian states. Instead of marching on Rome, which many believed was his best opportunity to win the war, he chose to consolidate his position in southern Italy, where he hoped to gain support from discontented Roman allies. In 214 BC, Hannibal's situation became increasingly precarious. Roman generals, learning from their previous defeats, adopted new strategies and reinforced their armies. Fabius Maximus, who had previously advocated for a strategy of attrition, was replaced by more aggressive commanders like Claudius Nero and Marcus Livius Salinator. This shift allowed the Romans to regain lost territories and slowly chip away at Hannibal's resources and manpower. In 212 BC, Hannibal attempted to lay siege to the Roman city of Capua, which had allied with him after his earlier victories. Although he was initially successful in gaining control over the city, it became a logistical burden. The Romans, on the other hand, intensified their efforts to reclaim territories, ultimately besieging Capua and forcing its surrender in 211 BC. The loss of Capua was a significant blow to Hannibal, both strategically and psychologically. As the war dragged on, Hannibal faced increasing difficulties in maintaining his forces. The Romans were able to mobilize their resources more effectively, and Hannibal's army, composed of various ethnic groups, began to struggle with cohesion and morale. Despite these challenges, Hannibal continued to lead daring raids and engage in skirmishes, showcasing his tactical brilliance. By 207 BC, Hannibal was forced to shift his focus back to the Iberian Peninsula as the Roman forces led by Scipio Africanus gained momentum. Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal, was defeated in the Battle of the Metaurus River in 207 BC, further weakening Carthaginian positions in Italy. The loss of Hasdrubal's army meant that Hannibal could no longer rely on reinforcements from Hispania, isolating him in Italy and intensifying his precarious situation. As the war entered the final phase, Hannibal's once promising campaign began to falter, setting the stage for the eventual Roman resurgence and the decline of Carthaginian power. Despite his remarkable leadership and strategic genius, the combination of Roman resilience, logistical challenges, and missed opportunities led to a gradual decline in Hannibal's fortunes during this tumultuous decade. Hannibal Barca found himself in a drastically altered political landscape following the Second Punic War, which had concluded in 201 BC with Carthage's defeat. After the war, Hannibal faced not only the fallout from the conflict, but also the challenges of navigating the political climate of Carthage, where he was initially celebrated as a hero. However, his continued opposition to Roman influence and his reformist ideas began to alienate him from some factions within Carthaginian society. In 195 BC, Hannibal was elected to the position of Suffete, a leading political office in Carthage. During this time, he focused on reforming the military and the administration, advocating for policies that would strengthen Carthage in the aftermath of its losses. However, his efforts to modernize the army and reduce corruption met with resistance from the ruling elite, who were wary of his influence and potential aspirations for power. Recognizing the growing threat of Roman expansion, particularly under the leadership of Scipio Africanus, Hannibal sought to counterbalance Roman power through alliances with other nations. He traveled to the eastern Mediterranean, where he engaged with the Seleucid Empire, seeking military support against Rome. His diplomatic efforts were part of a broader strategy to re-establish Carthage as a significant player in regional politics and counter Roman dominance. However, Hannibal's ambitions were thwarted in 192 BC when he was accused by the Romans of conspiring with the Seleucids. Faced with the threat of Roman retaliation, Hannibal fled to avoid capture. He eventually sought refuge in the court of King Audacious III of the Seleucid Empire, where he continued to plot against Rome. While there, Hannibal served as a military advisor and participated in campaigns aimed at challenging Roman power, although these efforts ultimately proved unsuccessful. By the time of his death in 183 BC, Hannibal had become a symbol of resistance against Roman hegemony. Despite his notable military genius and earlier triumphs, the years from 200 to 190 BC were marked by a series of challenges that limited his ability to regain his former influence and to challenge Rome effectively. His legacy, however, endured as a testament to his skill as a commander and his unyielding opposition to Roman expansion, leaving an indelible mark on history. Hannibal Barca's life took a significant turn as he transitioned from a military commander to a political figure seeking refuge from his Roman adversaries. After the conclusion of the Second Punic War in 201 BC, Hannibal faced a complex and precarious political situation in Carthage, where his efforts to reform the military and economy were met with resistance from the ruling elite. His political ambitions, viewed with suspicion by some factions, led him to seek alliances outside Carthage. In 192 BC, following accusations of conspiracy against Rome, Hannibal fled to the court of King Audacious III of the Seleucid Empire. His arrival in the east was welcomed, as he was viewed as a valuable military advisor. Hannibal aimed to aid Audacious in his campaign against Rome, offering his experience and strategic insight. He played a role in the battles between the Seleucid forces and the Romans during the Roman-Seleucid War, although these campaigns did not yield significant victories against the powerful Roman legions. In 190 BC, Hannibal's strategic recommendations during the Battle of Magnesia were not enough to secure a decisive win for Audacious. The Romans, under Lucius Cornelius Scipio Asiaticus, emerged victorious, further solidifying Roman dominance in the region. Following this defeat, the political climate shifted again, and Hannibal faced increasing pressure from the Romans, who were determined to capture him. Realizing that his position in the Seleucid court was becoming untenable, Hannibal continued to seek refuge from Rome's relentless pursuit. In 188 BC, the Treaty of Apamea was signed, imposing harsh terms on the Seleucid Empire and limiting its military capabilities. Hannibal, aware that the Romans were closing in, made a desperate decision to flee once more. He traveled to various regions, including Bithynia, where he sought support against Rome. Ultimately, Hannibal's life culminated in a dramatic end in 183 BC. As Roman forces continued their search for him, he realized capture was inevitable. To avoid falling into Roman hands, Hannibal chose to take his own life, reportedly by ingesting poison. His death marked the end of an era, as he left behind a legacy defined by his extraordinary military prowess and relentless opposition to Roman expansion. In these final years, Hannibal's journey reflected not only his enduring resilience but also the broader struggle of Carthage and its former commander against the inexorable rise of Rome. Though he could not reclaim his former glory, his strategic brilliance and defiance against a formidable adversary cemented his place in history as one of the greatest military leaders of all time.